Right then, first off, welcome to the webinar on unlocking the power of FP&A in law firms. It's myself and Ben who are going to take you through the next 45 minutes or so. Yeah, thanks Ben for the prompt to stopping the music. Yeah, the music's too good. Yeah, myself and Ben are just going to take you through the next 45 minutes. Just a little bit background on us, to do some introductions. Myself, Rob Douglas, I've been working in FP&A for a long time, since 1992, and so have ICIT, who I now work with. They specialise in this area and have been doing it for 25 years for 600 plus companies. Ben joins us from the solution consultancy team, delivering some of that best practice knowledge, putting it to use himself in implementing customers and helping customers help out on that sort of piece as well. And our focus is 100% around FP&A, and that's why we're bringing some of that expertise into this webinar. We do work a lot with legal companies as well, and that's what we're going to focus in on today. Just cut down a little bit into specific issues which legal companies might face around FP&A. And so what I'm going to do is start off with a short presentation, a little bit about why change how you do FP&A, but then the bulk of the session is really going to be with Ben, and we're going to go into a more detailed legal specific demonstration where we're going to look at how we can help streamline some of the reporting and also do more interesting things around FP&A, specifically around workforce planning, because people are a key part of legal firms' businesses, and how you look at your workforce plan, your people plan is pretty critical, so we can dive into that. After that, I'll just come back for a few next steps and how you can engage with us. Don't forget, though, as we go through this webinar, there is a Q&A button there. Feel free to hit that, and if you've got any questions go along, even for me, or more likely when Ben gets in demonstration, put them up there, and I'll be watching out for those, and I'll get Ben with those questions as we go through. So let's kick on with that. Let's start off with just thinking a little bit about why change how you do FP&A law firms. And I put up a couple of reasons here. And what we see for a lot of organizations, and I've got a few case studies coming later of companies which we've helped go through this journey, it's really about managing data and getting that data shared across the organization in a sensible manner. And really what we're seeing is organizations, law firms, are looking to do that in a more granular fashion, getting down to detail. So this enhanced financial management and profitability analysis, it's not just needing to do it at the P&L, balance sheet and cash flow level. You want to get more detailed into budgeting and forecasting at a customer level for different types of business, for different elements of your region and company, really getting into a little bit more detail on how things are happening around the business, and really then being able to make better decisions around that with that operational efficiency. Think about resource allocation, where you can put people. This is some of that workforce planning piece, which I was talking about, which Ben will hit up in the demonstration, and perhaps think about how you're managing the business around key performance indicators as well, perhaps, utilization rates and other bits like that, where you're looking to get into more detail. And from that, really think about making that step change. Instead of being in the finance team, perhaps data managers, where you're moving data from one system to the other and providing it to people, where you're spending less time doing that, and being able to get to this third step, which is really more strategic decision making, being able to support the business and look at what ifs and look at scenario management, say, hey, what if our utilization rate goes from this, or what if we put up our fees, or what if we lose this customer, or what if we acquire this company? How will that impact our business? And be able to go through scenario planning in a more detailed business and really support business decision makers and management, exec management, looking at risks and opportunities around the business. What we see, and this is a bit more generic than just law firms, across FP&A in total, and this is a survey ICIT did just last year for UK FP&A professionals, is really that people in finance are really too bogged down in managing that data, moving data around. You can see that 81% number in the top left there, where it says 81% of FP&A professionals stuck in low value manual tasks. You spend a lot of time becoming very detailed knowledge around finance, but you've just turned your jobs into moving data between your source systems, which might be Adderant, it might be 3E, it might be sort of some other legal systems out there, moving data between them into spreadsheets, manipulating it and shifting it elsewhere. That is not a good use of your highly skilled time. And really where you want to be is this 68% number on the far right of this slide here, where 68% of organizations say that scenario modeling is still manual and not mature. You want to be able to get into that area to look at scenario and what ifs and help that business look at risks and opportunities. And this is really what we're seeing around organizations, not just legal firms, to do that. And the impact of Workday Adaptive Planning, the tool which we work with, the tool which we're presenting today, is really significant for customers. They spend a lot more time on analysis and collaboration instead of just moving data. We accelerate planning cycles by 50% plus. So typically organizations can go from taking 25 days doing a reforecast to cutting that down within a week. We've seen reporting time cells go down from a few days to do the month-end report to just a few hours or minutes, really, to be able to produce that report pack. And that allows you and gives you that time and opportunity to be more strategic in your partnership with the business out there. And just as some examples of customers we've helped around this, here's Kennedy's, a UK law firm. In this particular one, this particular customer here, they did build out that integrated balance sheet and cash flow with that integration, moving that data from 3E and their HR Pro systems out there. But really what was critical for them was that income fee planning. So being able to get down and look at the fee earners and plan out their individual work and what they were doing. Alongside that, they were a bit more of a complex, larger group where they consolidating from over 40 entities and doing that financial consolidation task as well. Though we have case studies here from Kennedy's and also Pins and Masons, we do work with smaller law firms as well, and actually some of the larger firms like Freshfields as well. So a range of legal firms out there. In this particular one here with Pins and Mason, again, modeling out that fee earner, what they're doing and that people business, again, absolutely critical, what we see across a lot of law firms. But being able to model out new practice areas and ramp up time of new staff, being able to go through that particular piece and identify all those drivers down to the different businesses and location and practice portfolios. That was critical for Pins and Masons. And what we see across law firms is a variety of different use cases. Of course, they hit on the main ones there around workforce planning and that optimizing workforce, which you see here, but looking around enabling practice leaders to model their own business scenarios. So not just people in finance doing that, but enabling people out in the business, being able to do more detailed things like bonus calculations and allocations, taking central costs and allocating them those out to the practice so you can look more at profitability and those pieces, and using those KPIs and drivers on the right-hand side to drive more of the model. So you've got a proper driver-based model to be able to what if and flex later on as things change during the year. So these are the kind of things which we see across law firms, which we're enabling. I'm going to pass over to Ben now to just do the demonstration, but just remind you as we go through this, don't forget to hit up that Q&A button. We'd love to hear the questions as we go through. So Ben, over to you.
Cool. Let me share my screen. Yep. There we go.
Yeah, I can see the screen. Cool.
Lovely. So yes, I'll take you through a quick kind of a whistle-stop tour of Workday Adaptive Planning, looking a bit more of a focus on a legal use case, as kind of Rob alluded to. But if you've got any questions, then obviously do throw them in the chat and we can answer them live. What you're looking at is an off-the-rails kind of model, as it were. So there's not much that we can't dive into here in terms of detail. It's not just a pretty front end. We've also got everything around the edges as well. Having said that, I'll start you out here. Adaptive planning, if you've not seen it before, as a quick introduction, it's a cloud-based FP&A solution. So I'm accessing this particular model through my browser. It could be your mobile phone, your tablet, your laptop, anywhere you can get online in the world, you can access your reporting outputs, your planning models, your budgets, everything in one place. All it takes is a single login. You can see here I'm starting off on a kind of a typical dashboard view. If you've seen some of the web pages or you've looked at the promo stuff for adaptive planning or any other tool, then you'll be familiar with this view. It's a nice sort of way to beautify and sort of story tell with your data within the tool itself. Adaptive planning isn't a BI tool by definition. It is a planning tool, but it does offer all of the functionality and the features that you'd come to expect from this kind of solution. So you can see here, I've got a dashboard view open at the moment. I'm looking at my financial performance tab, and I've collected a few different KPIs on here with a few different visualizations to kind of just summarize the business performance at a more strategic level. So looking at a summary of the fees billed versus collected, whether it's fee income broken down by matter coding there, or we're looking at our budgeted fees versus our actuals. We've got a nice waterfall there that's showing our variance to plan across our different, or for income across different sections of the business. It's a single strategic view we've got here, but you can see at the top I built a few extra tabs out to kind of give us a bit of a journey within the dashboard itself. There's a few things we can do within adaptive planning that is kind of innate built-in functionality that allows us to get into the detail and access the data in real time. For example, we're looking at our total firm's data at the top here. You can see if I click this little drop down, we call it the level structure. It's your organizational hierarchy. In this case, we've got the total firm at the top, and we break that down by 3 kind of core functions: operations, services, and corporate. And then within those functions, we break them down, in this case, by region. So we've got UK, USA, EMEA, and APAC there. As well, but this structure will be bespoke to you guys. So whatever your structure looks like, if you need cost centers, functions in there, it could be regions, it could be local offices, that kind of stuff. Whatever you need in this structure is what it would look like. You do also have the option. So what I'm looking at now is the total firm's financial performance across all of these KPIs. These are all of my summary data, kind of all my summary metrics with all my collective data. If I want to get into the detail, I don't have to go away and look at a separate version of this pack, a more detailed version of this pack. The great thing about adaptive planning is that you've got self-service reporting and analytics at your fingertips. So taking something like fee income by matter here, I can see my 5 kind of key matter categories. I could take something like our commercial category there and give it a click. And Adaptive will say, how do you want to drill into it? Do you want to look at the accounts that make up our, maybe we've got fees spread across different account codes, or perhaps I want to drill into the clients that make up our commercial fee income. And with just a quick click there, if it'll give me a drill down, maybe we'll pull out property, for example. There we go. So if I pull out property, I can see I've got a breakdown of client from the top. So I can drill straight into that detail and say which clients build up our property fee income from that level. I can keep going. I could get down to the Workday level, and I could actually drill that down for that particular client. Could be Workday. If I drill down it could be by level or any one of our other KPIs or metadata. It's not just, I've just set up client there as an example, but if you've got different services, you've got groupings, maybe it's by associate or manager or what have you, whatever the dimensionality you're thinking you'd like to drill into right now, that's what you would have in that list of options there. But the point being, there's one version of this. I don't need to have multiple copies, a more detailed view, a summary view, and something in between to fulfill everybody's use cases. My end users can log in, and whoever they are, whether they are at the top of the organization or at the bottom, they can access the data that they need to access in a couple of clicks. What's really handy about this is if I flick over to something like our client statistics, so this is a separate tab here where I'm collating some other bits and pieces, some non-finance data in this case. We've got things like customer satisfaction scores at the top left. We've got clients broken down by billable hours and their satisfaction. We've got clients on record, our growth percentages. But I can use the dashboard here to filter that view down. So like I showed you before, I can crack open this view and say, rather than showing me the client statistics across the entire firm, maybe just show me the statistics for our UK-based clients. So the click there, I can see that filtered view just for the data that's relevant to that part of the business. And that ties back to what I was just talking about with your end users. It also applies to your security. So when your end users log in, you've got one version of this dashboard. This selection that you've got right now could be what your UK users see as their default. So when they log in, along with anybody else in your organization, whether you're multinational or you're a multi-office or it's just a multi-department view of this dashboard, when you log in, you get to see just what's relevant to you. So I don't have to filter down to the data I want to see. I can see just the data that's relevant to my UK clients. The really handy thing about that is there's only one version of this dashboard for me to update. So I don't need to have multiple copies of this, one for the UK, the USA, EMEA, etc. I just have the one. Everybody accesses it, but sees the data that's there for them. But as an admin, any changes I make to this, as soon as I hit save, they become immediately available for everybody. So there's that version control process you've probably gone through with updating report packs and everything else in whatever system you're currently using, possibly Excel. There's that copy and paste job is essentially taken away because as soon as I hit save, it's immediately available in multiple iterations across the organization. One handy thing as well is just in case it's relevant to anybody on attending today is multi-currency is also built into Adaptive as well. So as I filtered down to the UK here, you can see I've got my billing by matter code at the bottom down at the right here. This will show me GBP when I'm looking at the UK. If I'm looking at the USA, it will show me US dollar. If my reporting currency is different to some of my local currencies that I'm looking at in these dashboards, it will automatically convert the currency for me as I roll up and down the view. And I can even look at my local data in my reporting currency. So if I've got, Japanese yen, for example, and I want to see that in US dollar or GBP, I can quickly see that data in a currency that makes sense to me, which is really handy. That's all natively built in as well. One thing I'll mention as well is you may have spotted it at the very top right. There's a little drop down here that says latest plan. Along with the level structure and your ability to kind of slice and dice the data however you like, you also have the ability to create multiple plans, versions, scenarios, what ifs within the system. That drop down there is essentially telling me that the data I'm looking at in terms of customer satisfaction in this view is related to the latest plan. But you can see we've got a few different plans and budgets in here. We've got a quarterly forecast, we've got a budget, we've got a latest forecast, a best case, a what if. You can pretty much have as many versions as you like. But the really important thing, and this ties back to that one version of the truth thing I was talking about, there's one version of this dashboard. I can pull up our latest forecast in this same view, and it will pull up the same dashboard, but with a completely different set of data. So if I want to forecast out a different scenario, maybe I want to increase, things that may impact customer satisfaction, our billings, that kind of stuff, I can pull up a brand new set of data and then analyze it and report it across the same templates and formats that we already have. So all of my reporting, my dashboarding, and all of my outputs are infinitely reusable without me having to go through that age-old headache. The Excel hell, as we call it, the copy and paste, relinking cells, updating macros, and then hitting refresh on your reports, your charts to say what would happen if. That what if process, the time taken to build that is often that process, right? The churn of getting everything together so you can then start reporting it. Adaptive allows you to do that in a couple of clicks. So I can create a brand new plan, switch straight to it in an existing reporting format, and then I can see that data laid there for me in the same template again. So really quick and easy to get those reports pulled together. The one thing I will show you as well, just as a little side note, this kind of covers more of a financial perspective. We looked at some kind of non-finance there with the customer scores. I'll just very quickly flash up a separate view, just as a teaser. This is a separate model that we've got here that looks at sustainability forecasting and ESG. Just to tell you that adaptive planning is a bit more broad than just financial planning. I consider it more of a business planning tool. This model is an example you can see here where we've got things like carbon footprints and emissions versus projections versus our ceiling. We've got different spends on procurement. We've got supplier ratings in here as well. I can even see a nice geomap based on, in this case, it's supply focused. It could be something more related to clients, for example. If you're tracking different metrics on, it could be corruption metrics or female workforce metrics and that kind of stuff within your client base, and you've got some net zero initiatives that you want to pursue, but you want to build those into your financial planning, even though it's strictly non-finance data like carbon emissions, you can do all of that within adaptive planning. This is just an example of another model where we're taking non-finance data, could be CRM data, could be pipeline data, that kind of stuff, and we're plugging it into our financial performance as well. So you are not constrained just to financial planning. If you're thinking in the back of your head, this is great, but I don't want to have multiple planning systems across the entire organization, you can use Adaptive to bring all of that together in one place, not just from a reporting perspective, but from a planning perspective as well. So you can just pull all of this data in and report on it with some nice visuals and reports, just as you're seeing now, but you can also build it into the plan or into your planning process, which is really nice. Now, from a reporting process, there's a couple of things I'll show you. One thing I'll flash up now, just because we're talking about the kind of the reporting side of things here, just to start off with. I'll show you a planning example in a second. But what I'd like to flash up, just so you can see it, is something you may not be expecting, which is Excel. Now, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, they're the lifeblood of most organizations' reporting and planning processes at the moment, and rightfully so. Spreadsheets will outlive us all. One really nice thing about Adaptive is that you don't have to stop using all of your existing Excel, PowerPoint, and Word reporting templates, outputs that you currently do, just because you're moving into a sophisticated cloud-based planning solution. Because the first thing people think is, oh, if I invest in one of these tools, then suddenly I've got to try and get people to buy in and move away from all those templates they know. Everybody knows Excel, and everybody sort of has more of a love-hate relationship, but everybody gets on with it. So why would they want to move? Well, Adaptive offers you an add-in that allows you to connect any of your existing Excel templates, your Word templates, your PowerPoint templates to your adaptive planning data. So you can take those static templates that you're already using and connect them up to that live data that's coming out of your system. So you can see here everything that's highlighted is stuff that's been linked back to that same model, whether it's category codes on the left there, my organization title, it could be date ranges, things like that, or the data in blue there. All of that's linked back to that same model. So I could load in a new period of actuals for the current month. I could head into add some new budget data. I could upload a CSV or update some planning metrics. I can hit refresh in Excel and pull through the latest data. You can see here I can pull this data forward. I could say actually it's March 23. What if we rolled it forward to April? And I can refresh not just this tab in this Excel pack, but I can refresh all of the tabs in the entire pack. So it could be whatever pack you're probably thinking of right now that you'd love to do this to. It could be 100, 1,000 tabs. You can update all of them with a single click, just like that. And you can see it's pulled through the latest period of actuals for me, the latest plan for April 2023. All of my dates have rolled on. But even more importantly, the trend lines, conditional formatting, all the stuff around the edges, the charts, all of that updates as well, even though it's not connected because it's sitting on top of live data.
Yeah, I was just going to come in, Ben, and just sort of say, of course, this dissemination of information is absolutely key. One of the important jobs finance does is the curators, that owner of that trusted data across the business to make decisions. So being able to put that in one place and then share it securely with lots of people is critical. I think the other key point, which we're talking here about, that sharing bit, that getting data in piece on the actual side. Is again something Workday Adaptive Plan can automate. It has a data integration capability, and you heard me mention it a bit earlier. We've connected to 3E Adherent, which are two really common legal firm systems, which we can connect in and pull that data in automatically. So that again, that's one click to get data in. Of course, if you're using something like Workday as well, we can do that, or any of the other systems which might be out there. We've pretty much connected to anything. So you've got that data flow of actuals coming in. And then, of course, we've got that modeling capability as well to add into the budgets. And then you're sharing all this information with everybody. Just thought I'd hit on that point of the data coming in, Ben. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a good point because it's that one-click process again, right? You hit refresh in Adaptive to pull all your could be 3 Adherent or whatever system you're currently using pulls through, and then that process you've just seen me go through here, right? Just hitting refresh in Adaptive, even if it's just pulling actuals into the report, so you don't even need to consider budget and planning in here at all. You could pull your actuals straight into your Excel templates. Everything updates in real time. It's all drag and drop, by the way, to connect all this stuff up. There's no complex integration, plugins, scripting, whatever. There's no programming background needed. Your current finance team can take their existing Excel setup like they have it today, and they can connect it with some drag and drop functionality back to adaptive planning, and by extension, those source systems that Rob mentioned, and even goes further than that. So once I save this pack, I can then go through to PowerPoint. So that one-click process continues. I head into PowerPoint. All I've done here is drop that same table in here and a couple of charts and a label at the top right. Your usual kind of PowerPoint sort of deck reporting pack that you guys may be using this kind of stuff already. All I need to do in here is just hit refresh at the top left, and it will automatically pull through the latest charts, the latest table of data, the latest headers, and even some commentary notes I can link back to it to the PowerPoint deck as well. So all of that stuff can be linked through. I can even do it in Word, so the same charts and tables that you've just seen can be refreshed into Word. Even the paragraphs, the text in the paragraphs can be linked through. So all of your commentary and your context can be linked into the Word report as well. And that can be dynamic. So when you're refreshing your Word pack, if a value goes up or down, you can have that be contextual and say increase or decrease depending on which way it goes. So you can automate the entire process. So that one-click flow goes straight from your source system, Adherent 3, through to Workday, through to Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. You're talking 4 clicks to do a real end-to-end refresh of your entire reporting pack, essentially, which is why probably 90% of customers will use the Office Connect add-in in some degree to connect all of that data together, because it just takes out the days, if not weeks, of churn that they were already using to refresh this data. One last thing, or there's 2 last things really. One thing is, you know, when we're in Excel here, if I want to drill back to adaptive, I can right click on one of these numbers and I can use the Office Connect add-in kick out at the top, and I can drill back using the Explore Cell function to the browser. So even if I'm in Excel and I need to know where a number's come from, rather than, you know, having 2 screens up and having to jump between 2 systems, I can drill straight back into the browser directly from the Excel add-in. And the second thing is that you don't even need to have adaptive planning data in here to use the Office Connect add-in. If you've got non-finance data, could be operational stuff, could be HR, could be ESG, like we mentioned before, you could have all of that in a separate Excel file that's, you know, sat there currently on one of your systems that isn't running through adaptive, and you can connect that data through PowerPoint and Word in those reports using the add-in without ever even touching adaptive planning. So it's just a really nice tool to have, especially for those of you who are maybe coming from an Excel background and sort of getting that sort of buy-in from your users around Excel, or trying to remove the headache of moving away from Excel is a big point, and adaptive really is quite strong at that. I will jump back to the browser though, that we know and love, just so I can go through. We've gone through the reporting process there, that end-to-end one-click process. I want to show you very quickly in the time we've got left just an example of a planning process as well. So how is quick and easy is it to build up a new what-if scenario, a plan within adaptive? And again, that sort of one-click methodology, that click not code kind of approach, continues as you would expect. So one thing I'll show you, there's a couple of different tabs at the top here about operational KPIs and a few other things. What I'm going to show you is I'm going to take you to the customer database. So within this same view, you don't have to do it like this. It's not all through the dashboards, but I've just embedded it like this to give us a nice kind of journey through the system. I've set up a customer database, which captures, in this case, things like the client, showing the UK still. Maybe if I hop to the total group, there we go. I can see all of my customers, not just for the UK there, but across the entire organization. I can see which region they belong to in this left-hand column, the clients, what location specifically they're in, if they had a lead source, what was the lead source, when did they join, have they left us, what's their tenure, their satisfaction score. All of the fields in this model that I've captured are completely bespoke to this particular system you're looking at. So you guys, if you've got client data that you want to capture within your own planning models, it would look exactly as you want it to look. This would all be bespoke to you in terms of how you want to configure it. I can even tag a lead associate here as well, so it all links into my workforce plan if I'd like it to. But the important thing here is that I'm using this model not just to visualize the data and give me some pretty outputs, but I'm using it to essentially build a plan. And what I want to do here, you can see at the top right, this is the latest plan. So this is my client database within this particular plan. What I'm going to do is click this drop down, and rather than make some changes to that plan, I'm going to make a copy of it so I can start making changes to a different version of it and then see how it looks in comparison later. To do that, I'm going to use this button at the bottom, which you may have already spied. I'm going to create a brand new scenario. Now, by clicking that button, I can call it whatever I want. We'll call this Ben's new plan. And let's say we brought it from Excel, so it's got the old adage there, you know, it's V6 final. It's a real big deal. We're going to switch straight over to it as soon as it's created. And then what you'll see here is nothing has changed. It's the exact same view. But this time at the very top right, you can see my excitingly named version there, ready to go. If I click that down, you can see it sits there as essentially a cut of that plan. So I can create a brand new copy. All the changes I'm about to make will be made in the context of the latest plan, but they won't affect the core numbers for that plan. So I can pretty much work out any stress test, any issue, anything at all really, directly from this view. So I can go through all, it could be assumptions, it could be percentages, it could be market share. The things we're going to change in this plan could be extensive. In this case, I could go through here and say, okay, what if we were to go through to our USA customers and maybe we divest, something that's quick and easy to do. You wouldn't necessarily do this, but what if I divested from the United States, for example, and I just remove those clients from my client database? I can then save that change, and you'll see a couple of things happen here. One is my geomap updates in real time. It obviously focuses the data down because my USA customers are now no longer in the system, but I can also see those changes tracked as well. I can see any data that's changed, any data that's been removed or added. It could even be something like, if I have a client leave within the UK and maybe they left us today and we got the email through, I can add that as a little drop down. I can hit save. And again, I can see that change tracked. And I can even see the impact in the new client growth in real time. The really important thing about this is I'm not just making this change within this little siloed model that I'm looking at here. I can see the impact of those changes across the entire system. So if my client database plugs into my P&L, my balance sheet, my cash flow, any other planning, budgeting model within the system, I can see the impact of those changes I've just made across the entire plan, even though it's just a small part of it. From here, we can go a step further. So obviously we made changes to our customer database there. I can then jump through to something like my staff plan. In this case, again, it's another model we've embedded within the system, and this one's a bit more extensive because it's a workforce plan. And again, this will be entirely configurable to you guys. So we've got the titles, the start and end dates. I think we've even gotten the names for the associates in here as well. There we go. We've got, the associate name, the department they belong to, starts and end dates, their hours per week, their pay rate, all that kind of stuff, all the assumptions and drivers. We've even got health benefits here as well, which are drop-down fields. So if I pick one of these, it will automatically pull a cost through for me based on that selection. Again, you can have as much or as little detail as you like in a model like this. I could go down here and I could say, maybe we're going to follow the same thread within that new plan. I might say, actually, we're going to try and bring everything back into our UK office. So maybe I'm going to take all of these rows here and just remove some employees. Maybe we're looking to make 14 items redundant. Maybe we're looking to add some stuff. It could be some interns. It could be different drivers and assumptions we're changing. But this is just a quick example to show you the impact. Again, not only can I see the change in my total associates at the top right there, but I can also track those changes in real time. So whether it's a real detailed customer and sort of a staff and a client-based change at that detail level, a line item in a way, or it could be something a bit more summary. So I could get to my client bookings tab now, and I could say, the number of hours booked across our existing clients is what we're looking at in this top model. In this case, we're looking at hours per day, what's been booked. And at the bottom here, you can see I've got my table of charging rates at a broad assumption level across all of the roles within the organization. So even at something a bit more summary like this, I can crack open this charging rate model here, and I could say, I'll just unlock this as well because I've got it a bit secure. So I'm going to open this up so I can make some changes. I might say, okay, I've got my partners, my senior associates down to my juniors. I could say, what if I set the partner rates to 800 GBP or dollars or whatever? Is probably going to be a lot higher than that. But if I was to set that to 800, I can then copy that all the way to the end of the plan, and it will push it all the way out for me. So I can increase the charging rates for all of my partners across all clients and all matters in one fell swoop like that at a real summary level. Likewise, I can take the full year number there, that FY24. I can highlight those 4 items, and I could say, what if within this plan, I right-click that number and I adjust it? And what if I increase all of our charging rates by 25%, let's say, in that particular year? I can click OK, and it will automatically uplift them by 25% and then spread them back across that year based on that change I made before. So I can see that it's really quick and easy to make changes to that data and sort of input stuff live, whether it's a top-down plan that you're building up. It could be charging rates, again, market share. It could be whatever you can imagine, inflation, interest rates, that kind of stuff, or it's a bottom-up build of the plan as well. You've got a lot of flexibility in terms of how you build the forecast. But let's say we make those changes and we save those down. I want to commit those to that brand new plan. Again, we're going to see that line green running through there where I've made some changes. I can then jump back to, I'm going to lock this down again. So I've made those changes. I'm just going to close that down. And then I can jump back to this plan and I can see, again, we've got some visuals around the edge, which is a nice way of using the dashboards here. We can build that story around it. So as I'm making changes to the data, I can see how our revenue phasing and our fees build changes in real time. But I can make all the changes I want. And the last thing to flash up here, just before I show you the impact of those changes we made in that plan, is something like just a utilization model. So a lot of people use adaptive to help them build out that demand versus supply kind of gap analysis. So in this case, we've just gone through the clients we've gone through the staff. So we're looking at the sort of our resource that we have available, the client bookings, the demand for our services that we've gone through as well of the clients that we've got in the system. And then in here, we're then looking at the hours we're actually billing versus what we've booked for those clients. And a nice fallout of that is the stuff you can see at the bottom here. So I can see the total hours that we're billing by customer. I can see the total FTE. And then this little chart on the bottom left will essentially highlight in red any place where we have a gap in those resources. So if we bring on a new client, then we throw in 500 hours a month, for example, for that client, We can make assumptions around the number of partners, senior associates, and associates we need. And Adaptive can tell us not just the cost implication of onboarding those new clients and the billing implication as well, but also help us build that workforce plan as well. So it kind of gives you a really nice sort of holistic planning solution there. All that kind of comes to the forefront when we've made all of those changes in the plan. The last thing we really want to do, and this is sort of the last thing I've got to show you right now, is just going through that planning process. We want to see the impact. It's all well and good making those changes and seeing this fall out the back here in the dashboard, but I can jump over to something like this, which is the third of our 3 reporting options: the dashboards, Office Connect, and then reporting within the browser. This is a really simple plan where we're essentially saying, if I just give this a quick refresh as well, we're essentially just taking an income statement, a series of income statement accounts on the left-hand side here, and we've got a couple of drivers at the bottom, some cash and balance sheet accounts towards the bottom there as well. And all we're doing is taking 2 plans and then comparing them against one another. We could have 4 or 5 plans in here. It could be the plan versus the actuals versus the best and worst case versus an AI-generated forecast as well. But I could take from my version drop-down list here that brand new plan that I've been working on, or I could take my latest forecast, for example, or any other of those plans. I could rerun that report, again, one that already exists, and I can see the impact of all of the changes that we've been working on within that plan. So you can see here for this particular forecast, there's a lot of negative changes. A lot of expenses have gone down, revenue's gone down, but you can quickly model out those scenarios in, I mean, what was maybe 10 minutes in a really quick example. A real world example, it might be, maybe half an hour for you to just quickly pull out a really complex top-down plus bottom-up plan, report it in the same format you know and love, and get it out across the business in essentially no time at all. So not just the one-click reporting end to end, but in a sense, almost one-click planning all the way through, as you saw there.
And Ben, it's a fantastic example of how that people can make, finance professionals can make that step change from being just shifting data, having to move data and wrangle data in spreadsheets, because we've got those ability to automate that. You showed that to start off with, moving data through into Adaptive and then out into the reporting, but then really step up and start to do this with a proper driver-based model. You can start to flex those drivers, see the impact on business, and create these versions around that. Now, as you were doing that, a question came in, which is a good question actually. It's around commentary. How to collect commentary, because I think that's one of the other major things people are looking to do. It's providing analysis, providing the story behind the numbers, and sharing that across that. And the comment really is there. If you've got different departments, different regions adding comments at a lower level, how do you add those up to the top level? How do the people of the group do it? And I just thought this is a good time to do it, since you're in these kinds of reports, that we can show how the reports can be, the comments can be added in there. That could be a good thing to show how we can capture those and share those around the business.
Absolutely. Let me pull up a quick report that I know I've got some comments in. This one doesn't have any, but the simple answer, very quickly as I pull it up, is that it automatically rolls up the same with all the data that you were looking at. So if I'm at the group level and there's 100 comments that sit within that group across all of those entities, I can configure this report to include those comments within the whole report itself. I can drill in and see the comments. I can see them all laid at a summary at the bottom of the report. So they're essentially all available. If you're at the detailed level, obviously you can see the whatever level you are within the structure, you can see the roll up at different levels. So if you're at the UK, for example, the UK office, and you can see all of the comments rolled up in the UK, but you're not going to see the comments across Europe or the United States and that kind of stuff. Let's pull this one up here as well. Here we go. So this is another report that I've got in a separate model, just so you can see it. This one's talking more about as well about what I just mentioned. So, comparing multiple different versions across a plan, actuals versus budget versus another plan versus an AI forecast. You can see at the bottom here, though, we do have some report notes. And these are comments that have been added. Just as an example, you can see down here, it tells you what the comment is. So in this case, it would have been added to, I think it's in the income statement in this model. It was added by the IC admin, which is me. And it was added to company A, which is one of our subsidiaries within the group. And I can see when the comment was made, both the time and the date as well. Again, if you've got hundreds of comments in here, then you can see them across the group. So if you had a big report like this and you didn't want to lose any context around the report whatsoever, even within a view like this, it's all going to get rolled up nicely for you. You can see at the top, I'm looking at the total company view for this report, so I can see company A there. But if I was to break this down into this list here into our subsidiaries, I could pull out company B. I'm obviously not going to see the report comments and the notes that don't belong with it. So wherever I make a comment, whatever number I make a comment on, it's tied to that cell. So whether it's this report or it comes up in a dashboard and I drill down to it, wherever that number goes, the comment will follow it up and down.
Yeah, and those notes can be either in line or against the numbers themselves, can't they? So it's well, I mean, at the bottom like this, so we can move those around as well. Yeah, again, far better than spreadsheets where you're doing these as cell comments or perhaps typing them in the specific cell and then they're just linked to that cell, not where the number is. As Ben says, these comments move around reports and stuff, so they're not tied to that report. Wherever that number goes, wherever it comes out on, the comment goes with that particular number. Yeah, so it's very key on that. Yeah, Ben, there was another question which came in as well, coming around your what ifs and scenarios as well, and really saying, will the impact of changes be visible in real time? Which is a good question actually. A lot of these systems and models can get quite complex, and people who've worked with legacy systems and Workday adaptive planning is built to do this, means that those changes when you adjust the drivers are instantaneous. So it's going through calculations. We've seen some very large models which really impacting millions of cells, modeling, and those changes are done instantaneously. So the person here is asking, one challenge we face is understanding the impact of rate change and utilization changes. We have to go through multiple steps to see the impact in the P&L. And so will analysts submitting plan be able to see the impact of the change immediately when they treat drivers?
Yeah, which is, I mean, you kind of saw an example there. That there's one thing I'll mention as well. So yeah, this is all my income statement accounts. The changes I've made, I don't know if I've linked up this particular plan and if it'll show up in this particular report, but there we go. So that brand new plan, we're looking at the latest plan in the first column. The plan I made there is a copy of that plan, essentially. It's like a slice of it. The changes you saw me make live there are all accounted for in the variances here. So I can see the impact immediately. I've not had to push a button. I've not had to run a macro or a procedure or a process to get the data that I've input to then flow through a model, impact all of the attached models, and then fall out into a report like this. As soon as you saw me hit save on that screen, it automatically will feed through to, could be income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, any number of reporting statements, models, or whatever that you've got in the system. The only other definition is that, or thing to mention is, you've seen me do that with a scenario at the top right. So this is a scenario that currently is something I have access to. If I want to, I can promote that into the latest plan and then allow anybody who has access to the latest plan to see those changes. But if I want to work collaboratively with a lot of people on a plan, I can create a brand new copy of the plan itself. So rather than making a scenario, I can make a quick cut of the plan and go through everything you just saw me go through, but with multiple people inputting into all of those drivers and assumptions as well.
No, perfect, Ben. I was going to say the other aspect on this is about security and who gets to see what and change, and you hit that perfectly. In that, again, it's not about being a personal productivity tool, which a spreadsheet is. It's great for you, but it doesn't do everything. And even then, those spreadsheets become beasts and take minutes or hours to recalculate. Workday Adaptive Planning is built to handle this sort of volume and complexity of data, so those changes are instantaneous. But then we've also got that security model, which you can overlay over it. So only certain people can see certain plans or whatever. Or you can lock down plans as well and secure them so people can't go make changes. Another unique thing about Workday Adaptive Planning, it allows as many of these versions as you like. I know Ben mentioned that earlier. And so our customers do end up creating lots of different versions because it can support it and allow you to have different best case and worst case scenarios. And I would say that is one of the strongest features, or one of the key things you really want to enable if you want to make a step change in your budgeting and forecasting. We don't have time to cover all the features here. Ben's opening up some of these here so you can see things around FX or intelligent planning, where we've got artificial intelligence, machine learning, creating a version of the plan as well. So there's a lot of capabilities in here. This product has been in the marketplace for 15 plus years. It's got 6,500 customers. It's got a development team behind it of a couple of hundred to 300 people behind it, helping with development, besides the wider Workday team as well. So there's a lot of features and a strong roadmap of new features coming along, which we don't have chance to cover today. So I'm just conscious of time because we want to be cognizant of your valuable time. So I'll just take back the presentation and just give a little wrap up of that. So hopefully just sharing my screen. Right, back to that. Ben, thank you very much for that demo. Really showing how we can hit some of the key points for law firms, really around that sort of more detailed analysis, sharing information to different people around matter codes and customer pieces. We tapped into that sort of workforce planning piece and looked in more detail there. Of course, as I said, there is a lot more capability which we can do in the product, from the allocations through to group consolidation, into more generic stuff like artificial intelligence and machine learning to help you around your budgeting forecasting, which we would be happy to explore with you. We've helped a number of other customers on this journey to really help out their budgeting forecasting. This is some of our customer list here of people we've helped with. But what we would say, we'd be happy to tackle your particular issues. So if you've got some issues, it might be around cash flow planning. It might be looking at acquisitions and disposals. It could be around that workforce planning piece you want to go after in more detail. We'll happily build a personalized demo for you. One of the great things about Workday Adaptive Planning is Ben's job is really easy. I know he looks really intelligent, but he can bang out these models in short order because it's not a programming environment. It's about configuration. So you send over some examples of what you want to tackle. We'll happily build out a personalized demo for you, really build out that business case for change with you alongside that. If you want to reach out, my contact details are here. You, of course, responded to I see it to come to this webinar, so we'd love to engage with you over that. Just safe to say, thank you very much for attending. Really hope you enjoyed this session. Really hope you got some value out of it, and really hope you get a chance over the next few days to enjoy some of that sunshine which is out there. So thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of today. Thank you.